Good morning, and peace be with you. I'm Imam Muhammad Mushri, the President and Senior Imam of the Islamic Society of Central Florida, and here with me, Imams from across Central Florida, Imam Tariq Rashid, the leader of the Islamic Center of Orlando, and we have other Imams on the way. We put this press conference together at the last minute because of the unfolding events that took place earlier today or around midnight our time or noon time in New Zealand. Today is Friday. It is our day of service. It is our congregational day, and across the world on Friday at the midday Muslim congregations gather for offering prayers. And a person who described himself as anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim, he streamed on Facebook Live the massacre of worshippers at the mosques, at two mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. And the videos are circulating, even though social media has tried to put them out to prevent inspiring copycats. But from the videos that we have seen, this murderer, he literally on video live, he walked with his semi-automatic rifle and gunned down people inside the mosque. And the numbers that we received from the media is about 49 people killed and 40 some injured in hospitals. This attack at a mosque during Friday services is not the first, and sadly it might not be the last. But it is nevertheless a horrific act that we condemn in the strongest terms because it attacks people in a place of worship. Our hearts were broken when a similar attack happened at a synagogue in Pittsburgh, and at a church in Texas, and at the church in Charleston, South Carolina, and at the Gurdwara for the Sikh community in Wisconsin. All these attacks on places of worship, when people are worshiping God in their own way, at a place that's supposed to be sacred and safe, to be gunned down senselessly, is something that we all hate to see, and we condemn in the strongest terms. We offer our condolences and prayers and keep our thoughts with the victims, their families, and the community in Christchurch, New Zealand. And we stand vigilant across the community here in Central Florida and beyond to make sure our community members are safe as they come today and every Friday for services at this mosque and other mosques across Central Florida. Security is sadly now part of our daily preparations, and it is on our conscious mind all the time. We have no choice but to invest a lot of our resources that typically would go to help the poor and the needy in the community, to alleviate hunger and poverty, to be focused on trying to secure the safety of women, children, and men that come to worship at a house of God like this. And we have over the years, worked very closely with law enforcement agencies, and we are grateful for their support, their efforts to prevent anything like this from happening in our community. The work they do is critical for all of us, Muslims and non-Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists. Everybody deserves to live in safety, to worship safely, and to express their views without fear. We believe that all people of good conscience have to work together to stem this violence and to prevent future massacres. It doesn't matter the numbers. We were heartbroken by the death of a student who took her own life on Wednesday morning, and we believe that as a society, as a human civilization, we need to think about and consider the purpose and the use of guns in society, and in whose hands these should be. They should be limited, in my humble opinion, to law enforcement officers who are trained and who have sworn to protect everyone, and not be accessible by people who have mental illness or have hateful ideology against anyone, because that is, continuing the heartache that we keep seeing since our community here in Central Florida experienced the most horrific attack at the Pulse nightclub, where a similar number of people lost their lives. We feel the pain of that community in Christchurch, New Zealand. Orlando stands with them, and we appreciate the words of the Prime Minister. She expressed really how the people of New Zealand are to be known. They are people of good hospitality, and they don't have this hatred towards immigrants. But the few bad apples that are causing this havoc in our society today are the result of hateful ideology that some leaders, some faith leaders, some political leaders are not careful when they are talking about issues that of diversity, issues of different opinion. And so I want to call on all faith leaders. As a faith leader, as faith leaders here, we call on our counterparts, on Muslim faith leaders around the world, and faith leaders of other faith and no faith, to all refrain from any ideology of hate, any words of hate, and to seek the path of peace and justice and love. God is love, and we have to express that love as the commandment, the second commandment says, love thy neighbor as yourself. And thy neighbor means anyone who is different from you. It could be a person who doesn't believe in God altogether, but still he is loved by God. And we have to live by this commandment. That's the only way we can have a peaceful world. I have seen and read reports of some political leaders who have been, and faith leaders who have been justifying what happened. There is no justification for the loss of life. As I said, there was no justification possible for killing people at the mosque, at the synagogue, at the church, at the Gurdwara, at any place, at a nightclub, at a concert in Vegas. All of this violence can be stopped and should be stopped. And we all have to work together to make sure that happens. For the few extremists out there, if they are Muslim, Christian, whatever they call themselves, I don't believe any faith in the world condones violence and condones this kind of behavior. So I call on them to stop. Their hatred is not going to solve any problem. It's not going to help them achieve their stated goals. The world is a global village. We all share God's creation. All the resources, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, we all share it across the globe. And I call on them to rethink their crazy efforts. It is not helping them, and it is not helping anyone. It's just creating more broken hearts. Many mothers today are weeping, many husbands, many wives, many children for their lost loved ones. And we are weeping for them too. The distance doesn't matter anymore. The news arrive instantaneously. Late last night, before I went to bed, I got the first news break about this. That kept me up following the story. And I pray to God that that doesn't happen ever again to anyone, anywhere. With that, I want to thank the media for their efforts to inform us, and I want to encourage them to have meaningful discussions around these topics, because these massacres are happening with more frequency at places of worship, at places where people gather for fun or entertainment. And I really appreciate that many in the media and social media made the decision not to replay the videos, because that can only encourage copycats and threaten innocent people around the country, around the world. With that, I want to give my colleague Tariq Rashid the opportunity to also express on behalf of the Islamic Center of Orlando his community's condolences and sympathies.
Thank you, Imam Muhammad Lusri, and thank you to the media for coming. Yes, since I came to know about this incident last night, you know, it has been a very painful ordeal. And unfortunately, I saw that video, and it is very graphic. You know, this shows that hate has no religion. This shows that extremism has no religion. You know, the world these days is full of hate. There is a need for all of us, especially the religious leaders and the political leaders, to spread love across the board. Because with hate, nobody wins. But with love, everybody wins. So it is time to talk about love. Those religious leaders and political leaders who have been talking about hate, you know, they should learn a lesson from this incident. That how innocent people lost their life, and how in previous such incidents, whether it was in a synagogue or in a church or in a stadium, when hate is dominating, how innocent people die. But at the same time, we have to understand when an individual is killed innocently, it is not just him or her who has been killed. There are so many people who are hurt by this person's killing. So these 49 people who have been killed in New Zealand, it's not only 49 people, there are 49 families that are going through sorrow and sufferings. So as every religion teaches peace, every religion talks about the value of life, it is time that the sanctity of life is revisited, and it is time that we as human race, as one race, we should start spreading peace. And I hope that this incident will teach a lesson to those who have hate towards others, that they must stop. So may God protect all the people out there, and may God protect all the places of worship. Thank you.
Imam Masri, can you talk about ahead of service today, what you would tell your congregation who might be in fear?
We realize that people are in fear. I received countless calls and messages this morning from community members who are considering not showing up to service. They're afraid. One of the reports in New Zealand was from the police commissioner, who said to Muslims in New Zealand not to go to the mosque today until they have control of the situation and make sure there's no more threats. And I want to say the community is safe. We have taken every measure we can to keep the community safe. We have been in touch with law enforcement since early hours, speaking with the sheriff's office, with the police chief, and with the FBI. They all assured me that they are standing with our community and that there will be increased vigilance to make sure there's nothing happening. And I want to send to the community that their initial reports show there is no chatter of any violence. So people should come to the mosque, should avail themselves of the services as normal. We are praying and hoping that was an isolated incident across the globe. And we believe and we have strong trust in our law enforcement agencies. We are in touch with them, they are in touch with us, and we all are working together to ensure the safety of all women, children, and people who want to come for services today. Also, I want to send messages to Muslims here and across the globe. Anger and revenge does not bring any resolution to what happened. We believe that God in His own way will heal the hearts and wounds of the victims and their families, and through acts of generosity and forgiveness we can all work together. We believe the perpetrator or perpetrators who planned or carried out this massacre, they don't represent any faith or any people. New Zealand was known and will always be known to be a wonderful country, wonderful people. And what happened will not change our view of the people. This could have happened right here in Orlando, as did with the Pulse massacre, and as it happened in Pittsburgh and elsewhere. So we believe in the decency of people, and we want to work with everyone to ensure that we are all safe. So the ideas of anger and revenge and hate is completely wrong and inappropriate for what we're doing.
How would you characterize the atmosphere here in Central Florida? And we hear reports about rising, white supremacy and far right wing violence. But how would you characterize the atmosphere here?
I think overall it's very tense. We are cognizant that these extremists exist across the world and across Central Florida, but we refuse to live in fear. We refuse to surrender to what they wish for us to be in a state of constant anxiety. We believe only what God have already destined to happen would happen. So we choose to live in peace and love and tranquility and work together with other communities. We work with faith leaders from the Jewish community and the Christian community and all other communities across Central Florida. And throughout the morning, I've been also receiving support messages from faith leaders of other faith communities. And I believe Central Florida is a wonderful place. And it is the choice of over 70 million people that come here and bring their family and their kids to have fun. And we love this place, and we want to keep it that way. So our message and to my community, to everyone, if you see something, say something. Call 911 if you suspect someone on social media is threatening to gun people, to kill people. What's tragic is the individual put out a manifesto and told people on Twitter and Facebook that he was going to do this, and he live streamed it. Somebody knew something and did not alert the authorities. What's important for all people to work hand in hand with their law enforcement agencies and report any suspicious activity anywhere. These officers are there, they can act, they can investigate, and they're not going to say, why did you call us? We are busy. It's better that if you see something suspicious to report it, and if it turns out to be nothing, you say, great. But if it turns out that you can stop the loss of one life, it is worth that call and worth that effort.
Imam, can you elaborate on what changes security-wise you have done or may do, either here or any of the other imams at their mosques, what you guys might be doing from here on forward, maybe hiring off-duty officers or having more gates? I don't know if anyone can weigh in on what they're planning on doing moving forward.
I have to say there are two parts to this. One we can share and one we can't.
Right.
The parts we share is we have invested and increased a lot in security, visible security. We do, like I said, work with law enforcement agencies. We have regular off-duty officers, guarding our facilities. It's sadly the new normal. And we have, of course, security cameras. We have a lot of volunteers who are watching all the time. And also there are other measures that we have taken based on the advice of law enforcement that we can't share. And we are trying to protect our community, our women, our children. We have not just a mosque, but a daycare. We have a school. We have, a free health clinic. We have so much going on at this location and other locations. And so everything we can do to visibly assure our community that they are safe, we're doing. And there are several measures that we do that are not visible, but people should know we're doing them.
Unfortunately, we're used to accustomed to seeing a lot of gun violence that typically New Zealand just does not see. Because of the measures you put in place here to try to defend yourself against gun violence here, do you believe you would have had a better chance of maybe preventing future attacks such as what we saw in New Zealand?
Yes, definitely. I think number one, perhaps if this was happening here, the time that this person had shared his plans on social media would have been picked up by the intelligence community and alerted us. If that individual made it to the gate of the mosque, I don't think he will pass the gate, and he would be taken care of at that point. So, like I said, we have measures to assure our community that they are safe. There were, from the video that I saw in the New Zealand massacre, there were many gaps in their security preparations, but in a way they're not to blame. They're, no house of worship, no synagogue, no church, no gurdwara should have to have, it's not a prison, it's not a, they don't need to have guards. That's a place for the public to come and worship. And we have an open policy. We welcome people of any faith and no faith to come and to worship and to see what we do and what we talk about and to get to know us. We routinely have open houses here to welcome people. So I can't blame the folks in New Zealand because, again, New Zealand was known to be a haven of peace and nonviolence. They have much stricter gun laws. So this is, and the perpetrator was born in Australia, and so he doesn't represent even the people of New Zealand. As the Prime Minister, she said, he is not us. And so, given what happened, I think people of all faith at every place of worship or gathering should take the recommendations of law enforcement in terms of securing their gatherings. And so there were a lot of gaps that could have prevented and stopped the gunman from, going in and out and mowing people. And, after he killed them, he's shooting them again and again to make sure none of them even survive. So it would have been completely different situation here. I can't give you details how, but in drills we have done, we will not let that happen. We are very serious about the security of our people.
What's your reaction to this suspect posting the question? And he said he basically wanted to emulate people with attacks in other places such as here in the United States. Some of these people actually used to take drills that are American.
Yeah, unfortunately, he cited Dylan Wolf, who attacked the church in Charleston, South Carolina, and so he is racist, he is xenophobic, he is everything put in one. And it is a fact that we live in a global village. We should not be under the illusion because this happened somewhere else, it doesn't happen here, or if it happened here, it doesn't happen somewhere else. These extremists across the globe, they are inspiring one another. They're trying to outdo each other. They see it as a way to, to show they can do, a more horrible job than the previous perpetrator. So it is not an American phenomenon. You know, recently, to the credit of the law enforcement agencies, a man was arrested here in the United States who had amassed a lot of weapons, and he had a long list of politicians he wanted to kill, and he was inspired by, you know, another terrorist who committed a massacre in Europe. So when you look at this, you see that borders in this respect don't matter. You know, extremists inspire one another across the globe, be it Muslim extremists or Christian extremists or whatever they call themselves. They are just extremists. And so I'm not surprised. I'm just afraid that we are still thinking in